Hello. So today I'm going to talk about the mental health aspect of getting gastric sleeve. This is something that I think I didn't see enough of whenever I was about to get gastric sleeve surgery. And I think that it really would have helped me to kind of understand what I was getting myself into and also kind of giving me like a glimpse into how to prepare better. I think that when everybody speaks, they speak about the mental health and just how hard it is mentally, but it's not specific enough for me to be able to understand what tools I'm going to need so that I can be successful in this journey. So, the first thing I want to talk about is preparing for gastric sleeve. Why are you doing this? Like, ask yourself, really, why are you doing this? Because when I begin to do this and I begin to get into my whole journey of getting gastric sleeve, there are three things that I really want to talk about. My heart was not aligned with my mind was not aligned with my body. None of these three things made sense. My heart was saying, do something about this weight because I I want to feel good. My body was saying, I don't care what you do. Oh, we're dying. Well, I mean, yes, we're all dying, but like literally, like this is physically painful for me. And my mind was telling me, you're strong enough to do this. And it's also telling me you failed at the same time. It's really weird mixture of emotions where both things are true. Yes, I failed at everything else, but I'm strong enough to go through with this specific plan. Um, and so you know, the weeks of preparing for the surgery, the first couple of weeks when you're just on this liquid diet that is just like torture. It's torture. It is so hard to do this liquid diet. I know they say it's hard, and I heard people say like how hard it is, but I think that on a scale of like I'm satiated and full and have access to food to like being starved, I would say it's literally like being starved. Like if you've ever gone a day without eating, just try it. Try it for one day. Try not eating for one day and then see how that feels, because you're gonna have to do that for some. It depends on your surgeon and it depends on your weight and how healthy you are. I had to do it for a couple of weeks. Some people had to do it for months, I think. And some people were told like you need to do this for a month. And me, I was just, I think, a week and a half of liquid diet, and I think that was sufficient. However, my body is different, my labs were different, and my circumstances were different. So keep that in mind. However, try it for one day. Try going liquid diet for one day. Take it 1 hour at a time, take it 1 minute at a time, and try it. And that is what it feels like for several days before your surgery. So it's a mental strain, because if you don't do this liquid diet and you go into surgery, and you have food in your stomach, they will not do the surgery on you. You have wasted all that money, you have wasted all that time, and you're still not going to get the results. For what? For what? Nothing is going to come out of this. So it is very important that you don't eat, that you follow through with what they're telling you to follow through. And this is going to prove to the surgeons that you're actually healthy enough to have the surgery. So, um, it is it is really hard to mentally deal with that because you're by yourself. And for me, I was going through these couple of weeks of liquid diet while the holidays were happening. So it was like Christmas and everybody's posting all this food. My surgery was on December 29th. So right before that, I'm seeing pictures. Like I just mentally couldn't handle being on social media. I mean, I was on there for like reels and watching like stuff and seeing people's like little pictures, but as far as like the food, like I really had to work hard not to look at those posts, because looking at food posts was one of those things where um it was looking at a food post and it was just becoming really difficult for me to mentally stay sane. So I was like, nope, nope, just kind of skipping through them, right? While you're going through this, you start to have this fake sense of like accomplishment. Like, oh, maybe I can lose the weight if I just continue with this, but for how long? And this is literally torture. Like, I remember seeing a documentary about a guy who went on a liquid diet, and I remember him getting up and not wanting to do this anymore. And I'm like, the level of mental fitness he had to do, the strength he had to do this was so immense. And I think you cannot downplay that. You have to be really strong to do this. Um, so that's the first part of it. The day of my surgery, I was freaking out. I was so scared. Let me just go back and talk about the moment that I got picked up for surgery, the day before. Okay. The day before I get picked up for surgery, my mind is telling me, you need to do this for you. But my body is having a physical reaction of freaking out. Like I am hyperventilating. I am scared. I'm shaking. I was scared the whole time I was going there. I've never been put in under and general anesthetic before, ever in my whole life. So I don't know what to expect. And so that's giving me more anxiety than I think maybe somebody who had experienced anesthesia before. But even that experience alone was something that I'll talk about later, and how just it mentally messed me up forever for the rest of my life. Anyways, I'm going, uh I get picked up to get taken to the clinic, and I get to the clinic, and we go over some paperwork, they take some labs, and they basically tell me to wait. In those moments of waiting when I'm at the clinic and doing absolutely nothing, I'm by myself, by the way. If you have somebody who can go with you, please take that person with you, because going by yourself is no joke. Or if you have somebody you can talk to or communicate with, do it. Reach out to people so you can be supportive, because going there by yourself and doing this by yourself is so mentally difficult. Um, Anyways, I'm at the clinic, and every single moment that is passing by, I'm just telling myself, run out that door and don't come back. Ask for a refund. Don't do this. Um, as I'm going through and the doctor's calling me in, they're doing my labs, they're talking to me. The doctor's introducing herself, telling me, I will be doing your surgery tomorrow. How do you feel? Um, that's the moment I had a moment of like, let's calm down and not freak out, but I'm still very much scared. Um, and that happens. I go to the hotel at night. They give me a liquid diet. So it's just broth and some, I think it was like broth and some Gatorade or some weird like electrolyte drink, and Jello. And I ate it, and I was just kind of like, am I really doing this? It almost kind of felt like my body wanted to detach from my mind, even though my heart really wants to do something about this weight. My mind is fighting itself. There's two versions of me in there right now. One version is saying do this, the other version is saying don't do this. You're not go you can do this on your own without the surgery. And then the other part is telling me you failed. How many times are you going to fail before you just accept that you can't do this on your own? You need this. So there's definitely two parts of me. I didn't really sleep well that night just because I was so scared. And the next morning I go into surgery. I show up at the clinic. My surgery was supposed to be like around 12, but it didn't happen until like 1:30. These things happen whenever there's surgeons doing work on other people before you. They got to take breaks. Things don't go as planned. Sometimes, we don't know why, but things get backed up. I mean, this happens normally no matter where you go. This is why planning things with giving yourself breaks in between is really important. And so while I'm in the hospital room, I'm in a in inside room, like internal, like there's, I don't know how to explain it, but my room has no windows, basically. And so I am dealing with having to be in a room by myself with no windows, just me, four walls, and my thoughts. And I'm having thoughts of don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And when they come in and start putting in like the IVs and preparing me, um, I am just like trying to stay calm, but my heart is like pumping. It's like I'm so scared still. So, um, as I'm being rolled into the operating room, I remember going in and the anesthesiologist is asking me, how was your day? And I remember telling him, oh, it was fine. And that's it. I didn't even get to finish saying that my day was fine. All I could say was, it was fine, fun, or I think I was like, it was fun. And that's it. I shut down. I don't remember anything after that. When I was waking up, they were waking me up at the recovery room and they were shaking me. And I will, again, I will talk about this in another video, just how scary that was for me. But as far as this mental health aspect, I'm going to stick to the mental health aspect of how it goes once you are there up until, post-op. Um, so I went to my room. And as soon as I got into my room and I was kind of like the anesthesia began to wear off, immediate regret. Immediately, I felt like, why did I do this? When I tell you the level of guilt and shame that I felt and just regret, it was like the level of regret where I told myself, why didn't I just die on the operating table? It would have been so much better than dealing with this. I don't want to feel like this. And I'm so ashamed. And I'm so regretful that I did this. And I want my stomach back, but it's irreversible. Once it's gone, it's gone. They're not going to be able to give you a regular size stomach after that. And my sister calls me and asks me, I don't know if she called me or texted me. I can't remember. Everything's very blurry. And asked me if I'm okay. I'm doing fine. My friends are checking on me. They're asking me how everything went. I'm like, everything went well. But, and I was trying to play this version of me who is really happy that I did this and I'm going on my new journey. However, part of me is really ashamed still, and I'm experiencing the level of regret that maybe somebody would experience if they had done something like committed a crime. I don't know. Because I just kind of got to a moment of, how do I explain to people that I failed at life and now I had to have this surgery, which it can be considered elective, or you can look at it from the perspective of this was needed for medical intervention. However, I went the way I went about it, it can look elective. Um, so I went through that. Um, I recovered for a couple of days in the room and I was kind of like getting really like antsy because they make you walk around as soon as you finish with surgery, like you have to walk around. So I started to do like the walking around part. I got really sick. I'm having an immense amount of guilt and grief for myself. I'm not really sure how to explain it. It's just like you're saying goodbye to a version of you that was so comfortable and so happy with food. And that's no longer a thing that you're going to be able to do. You have to break up with your old version of yourself and kind of start a new relationship with this new version of yourself. But you're still in the same body. So you're not seeing the results of what you're going through. So it's like you're trying to attach a positive thing, but you're not there yet. It's a long road ahead of you, and you know this, but it becomes really difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I basically remember just kind of dealing with myself mentally in that room. Thank God this time they put me in a room where I had windows. So I just stared out a lot. I stood up a lot. I stared out at the window a lot. I just had a lot of thoughts of, why did I make it out alive? Why continue with this? If I would have gone out with anesthesia, I would have never known. It would have been perfectly fine. I would have been at peace. A lot of this depression hit me right away. And I would say the level of depression that I felt in that hospital room was about a 5 to a 6. And when I got home 3 days later, the level of depression I felt after spending 24 hours by myself in my place was at an all-time high. It damn near became suicidal. It damn near, I just had thoughts every single day of, I don't want to be here. And I fought it so hard. I didn't really want to reach out to clinical professionals yet because part of me felt guilty for not telling my doctors what I was doing outside of their medical care and their medical system. And another part of me really wanted to be strong enough to do this. And it's again, it's an internal battle where you're like, mentally you're falling apart, but you're also trying your hardest to find the positive parts of this. And I think for me, I just had that moment of like, I need to just see the end result. I need to see a version of me that is happy, but I'm not happy. So what do I do? And I want to say like 2 weeks into having surgery, I called my doctor and I told him, I think I need to see a medical professional. I am struggling. I didn't tell her that. I just told her I would like to let you know that I had gastric sleeve surgery, bariatric surgery. She said, I'll put it in your files and maybe we should come in and do some labs. And I said, absolutely, that'd be great. And when I saw that doctor, I just broke down. I broke down. I told her I am struggling mentally. I feel super alone. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not suicidal, but I mean, if I go out of my sleep, I'll go out of my sleep. I'll be perfectly fine with that. Some part of me wishes that I had died on that medical table whenever they gave me the anesthesia. And that's such a morbid thought to have because it is every single day I'm waking up and I'm like, damn, this is real. I did this. I caused this. I'm dealing with this now, but I really just wish again, part of me just wanted to go out in peace. Like I didn't want to do this anymore. Um, and so I just fought it and I fought it and I fought it. I joined a couple of groups where other people were saying like their struggles with their weight, with the bariatric surgery, and just some of the things that they have been dealing with when it came to body dysmorphia, which I will get into in a whole nother video because that body dysmorphia that comes with weight loss is it is bad. Even now, I look at pictures and I'm like, oh my god, why do I look like a linebacker? And it is really unfortunate because that's another mental struggle that you kind of go through. You're losing weight and your body is going to transform, but you're just never prepared to see what it looks like outside of this. Um, and so I remember I started to lose the weight and I was really, really happy about it. I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel that level of like happiness where I'm starting to see my weight come down and I'm starting to see a result here and there. And it's enough to keep me afloat. It's enough to keep me going, but it's not enough to stop the morbid feelings from still entering my mind. It's like it's almost like a battle of what I want versus what I need. I need to lose this weight. I need to make sure that I'm healthy, but I want to do this naturally. And it just wasn't possible for me. You know, it really I really needed to do something about my situation and it needed to be done the way that I did it because everything else had failed. And I think in that moment of such vulnerability and such depression, you forget about all your other failures because this is the ultimate failure. This is you have ultimately failed where you needed intervention and somebody to go in and remove your stomach so that because you have no discipline, you have no self-control, you're sick, and you don't know how to say no to food. And that's a hard thing to deal with. It's really hard to tell yourself to be happy and yet be proud of yourself and wait for an accomplishment, wait for that. It is I want to say it's kind of like um a reward system that you can't even formulate in your head. Like you will be rewarded at the end, which I am now. I will say it was worth it 100%. But at that moment, it just felt like such a distant situation. I didn't know if I would be able to stay alive to see it because I was at the level of let me just go out of my sleep. I don't want to I don't want to be here doing this. Um so that happened. I want to say into like months 6, 7 and 8 I began to get my confidence when I started to fit into clothes. And the clothes that I had wasn't fitting me anymore, meaning it was too loose. And I started to look really frumpy and just kind of like the clothes was just I was way out of my element. This dress is something that I used to wear when I was a little bit, but it has this little tie thing here. I don't know if you can see it, where you can like adjust the size around. So I keep it around because I really love this dress, but it was one of my go-to dresses and it was like tight on me. Like I had to stuff myself into it really and it was really tight in it and I remember feeling that level of fullness. I think when I started to get in my car and I no longer felt like my stomach was touching the steering wheel and I didn't feel like I was doing this in order to drive. Oh, look at that. Oh my God. When I started to drive like this because I couldn't drive like this, I think that's when I started to realize, oh, I'm starting to see the results of my decision. And it isn't horrible. I am almost 18 months post-op. Um, and now that I see the situation for what it is, now that I'm starting to see the results, now that I'm going for walks and I'm active, I feel good. I'm eating a really good portion of the things that I eat. I think now I'm starting to feel a little bit more normal and I'm starting to feel like it was worth it. I don't have any regrets today. I don't feel like like if I could go back and redo my situation, it would definitely, number one, the first thing that I would have done is I would have done it sooner. I would have gotten intervention sooner. And the second thing I would have done is I would have made sure that I have a really strong support system. Now, I did this when my family couldn't really be around and support me, but I think given different circumstances, had I had the right support system, and even when I reached out to friends now, they're like, "Why didn't you just tell me?" And I just felt so ashamed at the time. I couldn't figure out how to reach out to people and tell them that I'm going to go through with this. And I think a lot of people, I assumed a lot of people would try to talk me out of it. I think I just made that assumption in my head that people would just not understand why I needed to have this or why I felt the need to do this. And I think in order to protect myself from scrutiny, I think I just kind of shielded everybody outside of that. You'd be surprised how many people are really supportive of your decision if you just communicate with them. I'm not saying that it's going to be perfect. I'm not saying that every single person you talk to is going to be like, yes, I'm on your side. No, not at all. However, for me, after going through this, I think the lesson that I learned is my friends are really supportive. And had I just reached out to them and told them what I was going to be dealing with, I think a lot more would have been there for me and they would have been encouraging me to do the best that I can with what I am dealing with. So even if they're telling me, like, I don't want you to have surgery, but I support you, that's enough to help me. Um, I think somebody who even like I have a couple of friends that text me every single day. How are you doing? What's going on? Are you okay? And that got me through. I know that they may not think that that was important, but it was so important. It was so important for me to feel like I mattered to someone. Like someone was thinking about me. Someone cared enough about me to call me and ask me how I'm doing. And they don't even live in the same state. Just the fact that they did that and were checking on me was such a big deal to me. And the biggest regret I have about having my surgery is not allowing my friends to have more access to me as I was making my decision and as I was going through with the surgery. I think if I have about 3 to 4 friends that I think I should have included a little bit more in my plans because the level of support that they showed me afterwards was so compassionate. And that's why I'm saying you may not feel like your friends care about you, but if a friend came up to me today and they were like, I'm gonna go have gastric sleeve surgery, I'm telling you right now, if they live within driving distance from me, I'm going with them. Okay, don't say no to me. I'm going with you. If no one else is going with you, if your family is not there, if your husband, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, if they're not there with you, I'm going. I'm getting the phone number of your brother, your sister in case something happens. I'm going to show up and do your laundry with you. I'm going to pick you up and we're going to go for walks together. I'm going to do whatever it takes to support you. If you have to go to the doctor, I want to go to the doctor with you. Like it's just so important to have that level of support at the end of the day. And so I think at the end I will just say that if you're ever thinking about doing the surgery, that you really look at your support system and you really kind of include them and let them decide whether they want to be included or not, because you will literally not understand what they're going through until they tell you and tell you these things. I had friends that confronted me afterwards and they were just kind of not just mad at me, but a little bit hurt that I did something and it could have ended it for me and they would have never known. And so next time that I go in for anything, even if it's like, you never know what's going to happen, right? So if I ever have to have anything medical again, I think that I've learned my lesson, which is talk to people. Let them know what's going on. Let them decide how they're going to be there for you. And if they're not going to be there for you physically because they can't be, accept those phone calls, accept those text messages, laugh with them, send them reels back whenever they're sending you reels. If you have friends that are local, ask them for, before you go into surgery, um, they tell you like this is your plan, right? Like today, if I had a friend that went in, I think the very first thing that I would do is guide them through the process of up until the day of surgery. Don't buy all this extra stuff because your taste buds are going to change, and as prepared as you want to be, it's just not going to make sense once you come out of the surgery. On top of that, making you broth, buying you something, making you food so that you don't get bored. Let me be there for you. Um, so yeah, that was the only mental health part that I wanted to talk about, and I really wanted somebody to, if this video gets to you and it helps you in some type of way, just understand that you're not alone in the feeling of feeling guilt, shame, and fear, and that level of regret that you have when you had gastric sleeve surgery. Some people come out and they're like euphoric. They're like, I'm so glad I did this. I This is it for me. That just wasn't my experience, and it's no fault of the doctors, it's no fault of anybody else. It was literally the way that I felt. It was very individual to me. And I just want other people to understand that it's not all ponies, butterflies, rainbows, and puppies when you come out of surgery. Sometimes it takes a while.